2 lines. We appreciate it. Now we're just kind of like bantering with the crowd right now. One of the things I mentioned was one of my favorite moments is Captain Keys, just because he had this finesse about him. He was just this, you know, he was the man with the plan. Just any like fond moments you kind of liked?
Well, Captain Keys, I believe, was voiced by Pete Stacker, if I'm not mistaken, who is a friend of mine from Chicago, and he did a fantastic job. But to be honest with you, most of the time we work on video games, we're working alone. It's a solitary, you know, sort of thing. Especially during COVID, it was very solitary. But usually it's just the voice talent in the studio and behind the glass, and then on the other side of the glass is the engineer and the director, maybe a couple of writers. So it was very rare that we got to work together. And Pete and I have worked on other things that had nothing to do with Halo, but we had never worked together. But I agree with you, he was a dominant character for the short time that we had him, that's for sure.
Now, I understand, you know, Halo's kind of gone through. Jen Taylor, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Who's
Hi.
you?
Sorry.
Do the voice.
Guy from Shrek, huh?
This theater is not a natural formation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems, thank you for attending the Halo panel. My name is Luis Gutierrez. I am a games journalist. These folks right here need no introduction, but I will give them one anyways. This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, and Jen Taylor, the voice of Cortana, Princess Peach. She does characters in Destiny, and the list could go on and on. They are phenomenal voice actors and actresses, and let's just get this panel started.
Let's do it.
Now, the first question I wanted to ask you guys is that when you were first auditioning for Halo, what was it that caught your attention about this?
The first question I asked Marty when he asked me if I was interested is, what's it pay? So that was my first question. Seriously, folks, you know, it appealed to me. I'm a big science fiction fan, buff. So when Marty was describing the Halo universe and Master Chief's character and all that, I immediately wanted to be a part of it because that's my genre, that's my jam, if you will. And so that's really was my first impression. Not really having any thoughts about this being part of the rest of my life, which it's turned out to be, but merely because it looked like it was going to be a fun gig to do, and it was.
That's a hard question.
Sorry, I didn't.
No. You know, I really, it was a different time, right? Back then, it was not, video games were, as far as voicing video games, that was still a fledgling kind of industry. And so we had I had no expectations, and I can speak for Steve, we had no expectations, but of it going anywhere, of it doing anything. And so the thing that I had fun with was Cortana's sense of humor, which surprised me. That surprised me, that she had a sense of humor, and I appreciated that, because I was told, oh yeah, you're an AI, you're his sidekick, and you know, we need you to sound as not annoying as possible. I think that was one of the notes I got. Because you're going to be talking all the time and helping the player figure out what they need to do, and so we need you to be as unannoying. And so to find out that she actually had this beautiful character was such a gift, you know? So those are my thoughts at the beginning.
And, you know, the franchise is, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been around since 2001. Folks like myself, like many other in the audience, have grown up on it. How does it feel to be part of a legacy brand that's, you know, stood the test of time and, you know, generation after generation?
It's not really something we think about on a day-to-day basis, but when we're here and we see how it has affected people it's an honor, it's a privilege to be a part of it, and it's fun to share it with you. I mean, that's how we get to feel that, you know, I mean, that's how we feel that, is we're getting to share this with you, and we're getting to talk about it with you. Because let me tell you, most of the people in my daily life don't care, don't want to talk about it.
They really don't.
You know, so it's fun to get to relive moments with you guys.
My two elderly neighbors across the hall in my condo in Chicago are very unimpressed with the fact that I'm a Payson pastor.
Everybody in my life is unimpressed with it.
They're
Yeah.
like, that's great. Would you help me bring up the
Lawn
groceries? But I think you hit on something in your question, and this has been a somewhat recent phenomenon, I'd say in the last 5 years or so, where the whole generational aspect of Halo that has started to feed back to us in terms of this is what you know, my dad and I bonded on, or my brothers, or my mom and I,
Or here's
uncles.
my son or daughter,
Yeah.
and we play this game together.
Yeah. Now the fact that his son was 4 years old was a little disconcerting, but I suppose Dad knows best. So, but that, and also the fact that, you know, within the last 5 or 10 years, I've seen certainly a lot more women be involved in the franchise and like the franchise. I mean, when we first started doing these things, sorry guys, it was all sweaty dudes. That's pretty much all we had. And now we see, you know, a lot more women and girls, you know, getting into the game and enjoying it, which is, the diversity is rewarding.
To kind of like piggyback off of that, Jen, I wanted to ask you how, you know, I never really thought about it until right now, but you were kind of like on the Mount Rushmore of women video game characters. How does it feel knowing that like you weren't displayed as an object? You weren't a means to an end. You were the peanut butter to the jelly. You were such a vital part of that story. How does it? How do I articulate this? Like, how does it feel just knowing that like you helped pave the way for women in gaming to not just be, you know, an object?
Well, now I'm gonna cry.
Don't cry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you cry. My
I get
fault.
so uncomfortable with you.
You've seen it happen,
Yes.
Steve. I never thought about it that way, but I was always very aware of how expertly written that character, not only the whole story and all the lore, right? There's so much to pull from, but that character has been, and that has been a great gift to me. I've never thought of it the other way around, so I don't know what my response is. I've never thought of it like that. I've always felt like I got the gift. I mean, the gift was given to me, so I don't know. I don't have a response.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot
That's
like
okay.
You know, I mean, I'm certainly not an expert in this particular field, but I think Cortana probably was one of the first real dominant female characters in video games.
I don't know. I'm not the person to ask.
What do you
I
think?
mean, Princess Peach is pretty dominant. Come on.
Yeah. No, absolutely, that's true.
Hey!
Silence speaks volumes. Okay, for the next question, you know, the both of you guys have been working on Halo for some time now, and it's seen a transition between Bungie and 343. I'm just curious, how much of a creative input do you guys have when it comes to the writing? To maybe like, oh, Chief wouldn't say this, or Cortana would say it like this. How much creative input do you guys have?
I feel like that sort of came a little later, right? I mean, somebody's asked something similar to this, and in Infinite, I think it was Infinite, I said, you guys, Halsey does not speak in contractions. She just doesn't. And they said, okay. They picked up, I mean, because I felt like, and I had always tried to do that before, even if it wasn't written that way, I would make sure that there were no contractions. I would try to do that. It didn't always work. But it makes her sound in a very particular way. It makes her sound extremely formal. in an interesting, I thought, interesting way. So I've had moments like that, that they were very receptive to.
Yeah, I think it has been, you know, in the beginning, quite honestly, it was like, shut up and read
Shut
this.
up, Barbie, tell us, shut up.
Shut up and read this. Yeah, but the later games, especially 4 and Infinite, and in my case, Infinite especially, would be the first time that I would have.
You improv a monologue?
Yeah, you know, the Paul, the Cracker, who was the director, we would talk about it, and you know, maybe I'd read a line, and he would go, "That doesn't really sound like Chief, does it?" And, no, it really doesn't. Let's try it this way. So it was the first time that we had some sort of real creative input, because you know we had been doing the characters for 20 years, so you do kind of get a feel for who these characters are, you know, over that period of time.
I feel like a little bit when I was doing the first few games, though, when I was not doing scenes, but doing the moments where she's telling Chief, you know, come on, we got to get over here. Why are you standing over there? What are you looking at? Let's go. That I would sometimes get to make things up. I don't know how much of it they actually used, but but I would get to, you know, come on, what are you doing? Why are you standing there? Let's go. You know.
She sounds just like her, doesn't she?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like if I close my eyes, I can visualize it. And you know, speaking of 343, the gap between Halo 3 and 4 was it was some time. At the top of my head, I don't know the exact number. But can you guys talk about the process? Because I'd imagine, you know, it was a big responsibility to bring this franchise back from dormant. So can you guys talk about, you know, how it was bringing Halo 4 to life after, you know, some years of just being asleep?
Well, 3 came out in 2007, right? And 4, I think, came out in 2011.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Well, to be perfectly honest, you know, we thought we were done after Halo 3 and the little bit that I did in Reach. Were you in Reach? Did you have some stuff?
Halsey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Halsey.
Yeah.
So, but I really walked away from that thinking, okay, that's the end of that, and it felt great, and it's sad to see it go. And then when you know, Bungie moved on and 343 assumed the mantle, as it were, their original intention was to replace both of us, and in fact did replace both of us. And it wasn't until
You're making up this story.
I am not making up this story. The game was beta tested. You know, they have people who will play the game and work out the bugs and all that. And the feedback they were getting was, we love the game, but that's not Master Chief and that's not Cortana. And that's when we were brought back in. I mean, we didn't know all this going in, but you know, sort of found out later. When we were brought back in to redo the characters, we actually did, especially in Jen's case, ADR, which means you're reading. How do you explain it?
Additional dialogue replacement.
Yeah.
So you see it a lot in TV shows and movies all the time, where a plane flies over, and so they have to have the actor say the line again, or they didn't just get it right, or their mic was weird, and so it sounds kind of muffled and whatever. So we had to replace. Well, you had the mask, so you didn't have to deal with the timing.
I had the easy gig. Yeah. Moral of the story, if you ever get cast in a video game character, pick the cast where the guy you never see his face. It's just easy.
So I had to match the work that this woman had done, Mackenzie had done. I had to match her mouth movements, basically. So we had to do a lot of that. It was interesting. I mean, it was exciting and interesting, and kind of I felt adrenalized by it, because again, we didn't know we were coming back, and so it was oh we're doing this, and we're well into the process. So it was. I mean, I felt a sense of excitement and rejuvenation and a little bit of fear.
Yeah, fear was my predominant.
Yeah, a little bit. I think the reason they did that is because they started doing motion capture, performance capture, and we hadn't done any performance capture with Bungie, and they started doing performance capture, and I don't know, I guess they thought we couldn't do it, or they wanted to try something different. I've since gone on to do the motion capture for the rest of the games, so that we did.
And Bruce Thomas.
Bruce Thomas!
That does the mocap for the chief and does a great job. But I think fear was the motivator, because I remember when I was called into what they claimed were going to be, they were going to be testing out some new sound equipment and wanted to see how it sounded with me reading it and all that stuff. The translation was, you're auditioning for Master Chief, which was interesting because I never auditioned for the character when I did it for Bungie. When Marty called me, there was no audition. He just said, you're the guy.
How many people were in the room?
When
you auditioned?
there were people in the room, and then there was people remotely.
How many?
I don't know.
I think there were 25 people in the room.
I thought it was 74, but I
117.
I don't remember, but I do. What I do remember clearly is like, this is an audition. I know what's going on here. We're not testing. The only thing they're testing is me, and I just felt like, and then to see, and the stuff that I read was some of the dialogue between Chief and Cortana at the end of the game, where it gets real emotional and Cortana's fading and all of that. And I thought, you know, I got to leave. What they want to see if I can pull this off. And I just remember thinking, just throw it all up against the wall, and if it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Don't hold back. And fortunately, it worked. So
they basically asked me if I could cry in so many parts, and I was like,
and you went,
"Oh, Brent,
are you kidding?
You're ready for this."
I'm really happy you brought up Halo 4 now, because I remember seeing a clip online, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you were saying something along the lines of Halo 4 is one of your favorites because you see such an, like, you know, of lack of a better term, a naked version of Chief.
Mm-hmm.
You see him vulnerable, and I
I'm
feel
the naked one.
I'm just along for the Mjolnir.
Sorry.
it's all good. I never thought of it that way. And you know, flash forward a little bit to Infinite, we see, I like to call him as like Papa Chief. When he's talking to the pilot, he's more of like, you know, you see the emotional growth, and I was just curious of like how much of like your process from 4 was carried into Infinite with that, because you know you see him like, hey, it's okay, relax, what you're feeling is normal.
A lot was, and really, you're right about the fact that one of the reasons I say 4 was my favorite was because of, you know, that we were going to be, the characters were going to be getting a little more depth, yeah, and emotional. But the other one was that I got to work with Jen for the first time. We actually got to be together in the room doing the dialogue, which is unusual in video games, and we had never done it. And so
We met right before that.
right,
Actually.
months before
Yeah.
that.
Was that the first time the two of you had met in
Yeah.
person?
Was the 10th anniversary of Combat Evolved, and Microsoft was throwing a thing in Seattle in
We
January.
were at the Sheraton Hotel lobby, and I jumped on it.
Yeah. And she hurt my back.
I'm curious, who said the first hello?
Oh, it was me. I ran over and I was like, "Hi!" I think I literally jumped on it. Or I gave him a bear hug or something. So
And I think you said something to the effect of, finally someone who understands. And I knew exactly what she meant, because we had been going on this 10-year odyssey alone, and with nobody to really...
alone together.
Yeah. And so it was, and we became fast friends, and then got to work together, which was a personal highlight for me. So that's why, and then Infinite, because you're right, it sort of was a carry-on of that. There was going to be a new character, several new characters brought in that Chief was dealing with in a way that he had not dealt with before. So. You know, those two experiences. I mean, I love them all, but those are the two highlights when asked.
Now, Jen, I have a question for you. You've played multiple characters in the series. You've played Cortana, the Weapon, and Hosley.
And also in Halo 1, I was a pilot.
And the pilot in Halo 1.
Yeah.
And my question is to you is how do you keep all of these performances fresh and different from one another? Because like effectively they're all kind of the same person in one way or
Shades of
another.
the same
Yeah,
person.
and when you think of Hosley, she's this. She says one thing but means another. And when you think of Cortana, she's like, "Don't worry, I got you there." And then the weapon is more like this optimistic person.
Bright-eyed.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you keep all of these performances fresh but different from one another?
So, at the beginning of when we start a game, you do research basically, because oftentimes it's been 3 or 4 years, and so you have to go back and, like anybody, I go online and I look at, what did I do last time, and how do I want to continue this, and how do I get to continue this with the script or whatever that we have. These Halsey, Cortana, and the weapon have very different energy to me. And it's a lot about that. Voiceover actors, we're not just using our voice, we use everything we have at our disposal. And so I am becoming more and more comfortable finding that physical and mental energy each time I do it. The weapon is newer to me, and so I had a couple moments I remember when we were shooting motion cap, where the director would be like, whoa, 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 that's Cortana, and be like, oh yeah, right, sorry, okay, can we do that again? So that happened a couple times, but the place where they're coming from is becoming clearer to me the more I do it. And so I feel like I'm comfortable finding that. Though at the beginning of each game, it doesn't feel comfortable. You've got to start over and remind yourself where you were last, and I do a lot of research when I get told, hey, we're starting another game, are you ready to come in? I think, oh gosh, right, okay, where was I? Because it was just
When we last
yesterday
met
with these
our hero.
characters, right? Yeah, so.
I have such a distinct memory of the phone conversation with you when it was going to be apparent that Halo Infinite we were going to start working on it, and Jen kind of knew this, knew the story. I didn't know anything about it, other than the fact it was going to happen. So I'm like, Jen, so what's happening? And she was telling me the synopsis of Halo Infinite, and I was like, wait, what? And she, trying to explain the weapon to me and all of that. And I remember hanging up the phone and going, what's going on here? It turned out to be a great story, and also I think a further testament to the talents of this woman who, as you say, plays 3 characters who are similar and yet different. And that takes a particular acting skill that I find amazing when I, watch it and when I watch her work. To be able to, you as the listener, as the participant on the other end, you know exactly who it is that even if you couldn't see Halsey or you couldn't see Cortana, you would know just by hearing her voice. And yet you also know that the 3 of them have a connection, almost a DNA connection, that is also apparent in the way that they all sound. So
You're nice.
that's my.
And I'm really happy you brought up the mocap, because please correct me if I'm wrong, but Halo 4 was the first one where you started to do mocap, correct?
I did mocap for Spartan Ops for Dr. Halsey.
Okay.
But no, again, Bruce did Chief, and he's continued to do Chief, and a woman named Mackenzie did Cortana's physical performance.
So another question I wanted to ask the both of you guys. Chief and Cortana have been around for 20 years now. What are some key takeaway points that you would like fans to walk away from when we think of Chief? They're like, he's this. When I think of Cortana, the weapon, they're this. Are there any key definitions you would try to, or things you would like people to walk away with them with?
Cortana's your ride or die friend, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
And truly, sadly, die friend. But I think about I think about the trenches is how I really think about this, and I know a lot of people think about this as a sort of like romantic buddy movie story. I mean, but I think these two entities are in the trenches together, and that creates a bond, I think, unlike one I can fully conceive of, that is tighter than most we ever get to create, because your life is on the line. But I think, you know, Cortana is steadfast. And I want to say she's true, but you know, she gets a little foggy towards the end there.
Wacky towards the end.
She gets foggy.
But she came to her
confused.
senses and went out in a good way. But I think the one takeaway that I would want people to have from Master Chief is loyalty. That's what I think when I think of him, is that he's loyal to his service, and he's loyal to his friends, and he's loyal to his partner in arms through this. So that's the one. If I had to just pick one word, it would be that.
That's a strong one right there, just like Chief, you know, few words, but they carry weight.
Yes, sir.
It's an interesting hero's journey about somebody searching for their own humanity, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's me as well.
Yeah.
And speaking of Cortana, I kind of wanted to ask, how did it feel firsthand when you saw Cortana kind of step into this like antagonist role, where she's like, instead of like, you know, your best friend, now she is a force to be reckoned with?
How did I feel? I'm glad she had power. That was fun, and it's fun to play that kind of role as an actor, you know, so that was exciting. But I was actually, I was a little sad that she and Chief would be at odds with each other. That's, you know, if I'm honest.
And Steve, how did it feel just to kind of, you know, essentially now your best friend is your enemy?
Well, I don't think he ever thought of her as an enemy. I think he thought he was confused and disappointed and didn't really know how to deal with it. And I think to the very end, I don't think he ever saw Cortana as an enemy. I think he thought that he screwed things up, that had he done it differently, things wouldn't have gone that way for Cortana. So I think he really took it on himself.
Blamed
Yeah,
himself.
I blame myself. You know, that kind of thing. Maybe not in those words.
We have questions.
Yeah.
Yes. I just want to ask like one question. You
Sorry,
guys-
we were just commenting on the technical.
Sorry. Yeah.
So you guys know about the Halo TV show, right? On Paramount.
I know about it.
No, we don't talk about that.
What are your thoughts on it? Like, what do you guys think of the show?
I can't talk about it because I'm in it, and I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA, and we are on strike. So I can't talk about that. But I thank you for your question. I had a great time working on it. I can say that. Sorry.
You can't like answer it at all.
No.
No, dude.
Nope. I'm on strike.
Are we screening the questions?
I just want to say real quick, for the generational gap that you spoke of, I remember back in 2001, I ditched high school. My buddy had Halo 1, we played multiplayer for 2 hours until my dad kicked me out.
Quick question, did you graduate?
Yes, I did. By the skin of my teeth, I did.
Yay!
My question is, obviously you've been playing the characters for so long. Would you be interested, if God willing it happens, of a Halo and Gears of War crossover? Because I've been waiting for that.
Well, I mean, would that be Chief in the weapon?
Who's to say?
Who is to say? Who is to say?
My question would
Made-up
be,
world.
what's it pay?
Yes, sir.
Hello, so I had a general question. It was going to be if your characters from Halo had any friends from any other movie or video game, who would each of the friends be for each of the characters?
Ooh.
Well, I don't know. Would Halsey hang out with Hannibal Lecter? Is that what?
The first thing that comes to mind is not from another video game, but from Halo, is that I think, Chief's buddy would be the Arbiter. And it's interesting because...
You just want to hang out with Keith
Yeah, just because I want to
David.
hang out with Keith David, which we did. Jen and I were at the Halo World Championships a few weeks ago, and it was the first time that Keith, Jen, and I got to be together and work together, and we had a blast. And I love what the writers did with bringing the Arbiter and Chief as former enemies to fellow combatants. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope that somehow gets resurrected at some point. Down the line.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
My name is Chris.
Hi, Chris.
I just want to give you super so much thanks. You guys made my childhood growing up playing Halo. Standing at GameStop at night to get the light release and everything.
Cool.
Actually, I'm in the military, and that actually inspired me a little bit. Playing video games. And my question is about after 2007, we all thought Halo was done. How did that feel for you guys that you guys left such a big impact all these years? Like from that time period to now that all of us were growing up and we're like, oh my gosh, Halo days. People settle beef playing versus each other on the game, ridiculous. Like when I'm on my phone, my computer, I name them Cortana because Cortana has such a big impact in my life, because just the game, the story is so awesome. But that's my question for you guys.
I never really saw what Cortana even looked like. I mean, that's not true. I saw one of the first figures that they had of her, the one that would glow after, I think in between Halo and Halo 2. So I had an idea of what she looked like, but I hadn't seen it until Halo 3. I hadn't seen images of her till the Halo 3 launch party. Yes. And I don't know that I did this thing that we've talked about before called the Cortana Chronicles, where I traveled around and met fans, big fans, and that was eye-opening for me. But I don't know. I don't know that I felt.
You left a big impact.
I don't know that was something I was aware of, any kind of impact. I mean, I understood that the game was very powerful for people. Whether I took any onus, I'm not sure that I did. I felt that the game was inspired.
Yeah. I remember just thinking at the period of time that you were talking about, I was a little disappointed because I thought they hadn't even scratched the surface of the Halo story. I just felt like, wow, there's just so many other ways this could go, and we're never going to do that. Well, fortunately, we did. And even now, I still feel that there's a whole lot of stuff that is still yet to be mined in terms of the story of Halo and the Chief and Cortana or the weapon. There's just a lot more ways that this can go. So it was a disappointment when I thought it was over, and then, oh wait,
Yay!
we're back. So it was cool that way.
Thank you for everything so much.
Thank you.
Alright, so hello. So first I want to thank you guys for making my childhood, and like everybody here's childhood. You guys are a big inspiration. So
Hey, the fact that you didn't pass math in 4th grade was not my fault. Okay? Should have done your homework. But go on.
So my question is, and this might make people sad because they remember, what did you guys think about Sergeant Johnson's death?
Oh man, listen to that.
David Scully, who voices Sergeant Johnson, is a really dear friend. And so think he is one of the best voiceover actors ever. He can do anything. And so I thought that was a shame. And I hoped that they would use him in something else. But I love that character. I mean, he's everybody's favorite, right? Isn't he?
Yes.
Come on, he's everybody's favorite. So that was disappointing.
Yeah, it was. That one hurt. But it was also, it's the way I judge watching a movie or a TV series or something when, you know, it's like the beginning of the Game of Thrones.
Everybody dies.
Well, when the guy who was the only decent person in the entire first episode of Game of Thrones gets his head cut off at the end of the show. And that's when I was like, oh shit. This is gonna be cool, because you don't know what's gonna happen. And similarly with Sergeant Johnson, I thought, well, they're never gonna get rid of Sergeant Johnson. And when they did, it was like, oh wow, anything could happen here. So from a sort of a storytelling standpoint, it made things less predictable. But I feel like you guys do. That's like, yeah, but he was such a great character. Now it is science fiction, so you never know. You know, he could come back in some other world.
Again.
You know, who knows?
Again.
And again and again and again. But he was, yeah, it was a drag and I know the chief felt the same way. So.
Thank you for everything, making us happy.
Thank you.
Work on your math.
Stop harassing him.
Hello again. So as of now, it's been two decades of like throughout this whole franchise and everything. Like we've seen the growth of this fan base, the creation of Red vs. Blue that shows its love and dedication to the franchise, and then of course Huge and eventually working with Rooster Teeth where you voice Salem. So I would say my question is like throughout the years and the likelihood and also the idea that we don't know when we'll see a true finale to this franchise. When that finale does come out of all the games that you've all voiced a part, what would you say you enjoyed the most out of all the games that you voiced in? And why is it you think it holds such a special place to you throughout working this long?
Well, let me go first because it's real easy.
Okay.
Master Chief is it for me. So that's an easy question to answer because it's the only significant video game character I've ever voiced. I've had a couple of others, but they were very minor.
I thought we were talking about the series, which games within the series?
Yeah, that
Is
was the
what we're-
question.
I'm sorry.
Games
I'm
in
not
series.
sure.
I was
I was a
like-
bit confused, but
Okay, thank you. Yeah, me too. Me too.
All right, you go because I didn't understand it.
my apologies. I'm kind of nervous.
No, what within the series, and I think we touched on that a little bit, like
Yeah.
4 really allowed us to connect in a way that we hadn't, and it was written by a screenwriter, that particular game, and so that was really fun for me. I mean,
Oh,
4 was
absolutely.
really fun
No
for me,
question.
and kind of a revelation in my experience of playing the character personally. So that was a big one.
Yeah, and I think Infinite in a different way because it was more challenging. The story was rich. As I said, there was new. There was the weapon character and the pilot character, but also the physical challenge of doing it because right in the middle of as we're working on it, COVID happens, and the studio shut down, and we were dormant for a few months, if I recall, until they could figure out how to resume production without having us in a studio. And both
They
Jen and
sent
I
us
have,
special mics to
yeah, we
use in
have
our
our
own
own
studios.
home studios, but that they had to be sort of upgraded, mine especially, to be able to match what we had done in $1 million facility in Seattle. Now we had to continue that not in a $100 facility,
basement
in the
studio.
closet of my second bedroom. But we pulled it off, with thanks to a great team, and so that challenge was fun in its own kind of way.
We had just finished shooting mocap when everything shut down. It was interesting. It was our last day of shooting mocap, and we were looking out the window in Kirkland, Washington, we were across the street from the hospital where people were being brought in March of 2020.
Yeah.
It was really intense, and we were like, this is not good, friends. This is not good. Anyway, sorry, stepped away from that story.
No, that was fantastic insight there. So thank you for making the journey, and props to you for like wearing the SAG-AFTRA shirt to show the strike. So hopefully a deal comes through, because
Hopefully before we leave this weekend.
hopefully, I mean,
Let's hope.
rooting for these strikes for the past few months now. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love that the guy screams the questions. I'm waiting for him to go. No.
Sit down.
Hiya.
Hi.
Hi. So my question will be, out of all the games that you guys have done, which lines in Halo has stood out to you the most? And when it comes to those lines, how many takes did it take to do that line?
Oh, it's hard to remember.
A million, I'm guessing.
I mean, my favorite line that made me very, very sad to say as Cortana was, "Welcome home, John." And I don't remember how many. I think we did that scene over and over and over. I remember being like, "Really, you're gonna make me cry again?" Okay, we're coming back to do this, because they had changed an idea or a tone. But I remember I had a speech in Halo 5 to the created. I don't know if you would recall this speech, but I think I did one take, and they were like, "That was really good."
Wow.
Yeah, and I said, "Can I do it again, please?" Sure. So I did 2 takes, and that was it, and that was scary. That was scary. And I don't remember why. I don't remember if we were rushed or if they were just like, "Great, that was good. Next." But that was terrifying, because I thought, no, you need more, you need more. I probably was really bad, and it's not good, so.
The line that always comes to mind for me is again, the end of Halo 4, when Lasky and the Chief are on the flight deck, and Lasky's going on and on about what has happened, and he knows it's been tough for Chief, and Chief, as usual, is like nothing, giving Lasky absolutely nothing. And Lasky makes some remark about, soldiers being machines, and it clicks in the Chief that he recalls a line that Cortana said, where he says, "She said that to me once, about being a machine." And it was obviously a moment, it was another time where you got to see his vulnerability, and that was, I have distinct memories of doing that, and then seeing it when they finally, when we could finally see it. I thought it came off as it should.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Never mind, sorry, we keep going a little bit. My apologies.
Hi. Sorry to break the Halo rule.
That's okay.
What were some of your favorite? This question's for Jen Taylor, by the way.
Hi.
What were some of your favorite key memories of voicing Zoe from Left 4 Dead?
I love them. So Zoe, they had cast somebody else to play that role. And so I came in at the very end. They had decided to go another, I guess, I don't know how it all came down, but they called me in. I had originally auditioned for it, and they said, "You played her too young," or something, I can't remember. So it's like, oh, okay. So they asked me to come back and make her a little older. And I had to do everything. It was sort of rushed, is what it felt like at the end. But then we did some additional content where I got to work with the entire cast. And we all, not like the witches or anything, but the rest of the crew. And we all sat in this room, and this never happens in my experience in doing games. We were in the same room, all 4 of us, doing line. It was really fun. So I have great memories of that, which it doesn't, again, in my experience, that doesn't ever happen. And so that was a highlight from that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I love Zoe. Nobody ever asked me about Zoe. That was a fun game to do. And scary. It scared me. Ah. Yeah, I love you. We have a special bond.
Hello. So, like everyone else, thank you again for coming out here. And my question is, have either of you used the Microsoft Voice Assistant Cortana? And, or like anyone else that you know use it, and any kind of experiences with that?
My ex-boyfriend got in touch with me after that came out. He's like, really? You're still telling me what to do? I don't think you can really find it anymore, but one of my favorite things that's super meta about it is that if you asked that, if you asked Cortana, do you know Jen Taylor? Just like that. My response was, I can't get her voice out of my head. But I didn't ever listen to it. I just happened to know that. I didn't want to listen to myself. That was weird.
I've tried to use the Master Chief voice when I have 16 items in the 15 items in only lane at the checkout. Didn't work.
No, but
Didn't
did
work.
you ever listen to the Cortana? I mean, do you have it on your computer at home or anything? Like, it's still, when you boot up, put together, it has a completely blank look on his face. No idea what I'm talking about. Steve Downs follows my career very closely. Clearly. Yeah, he doesn't have an answer for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the Halo.
No, we gotta do one more question.
All right, we got one more.
Okay, really fast,
Get
really
this
fast.
lovely gentleman here.
Hello, we meet again, Jen. I met you at Zack Anime.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I know that when you first got into voice acting, you did when you first got into it, you were playing around with voices a bit. I wonder if you know how to, this is off the bat, do an impression of Disney's wise old hen.
No.
Which was realistic chicken.
No. I have no idea.
Take it away.
Hi.
So, out of all the Halo villains that have been in the games, which one is your favorite?
After all the what?
Halo villains that have been in the games, which one is your favorite? I mean, for me, I don't know that they're villains, but the Flood is the scariest, creepiest thing in the world. So, woo.
You know what? I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember the name. Our villain in Infinite. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What a remarkable actor. Such a good actor.
Scary dude. And
Not scary. Good actor.
was he the one that kicked the crap out of him? Was he the one that kicked
What an opening to that.
Yeah.
By the way, what an opening.
Like, we opened with the chief getting his ass kicked. Okay, where are we going from here?
And now we're getting in trouble.
Alright, unfortunately we have to end the cast panel now, but you guys can talk to these two lovely folks
Thank
for the rest of the weekend. Thank you all for joining.
You both are awesome!